Now, many Papua New Guineans feel as though they've been living through a spate of increased violence. And experts have long said that PNG does have some of the highest rates of violence against women and children in the world. But there are growing questions as to why that is and what can be done to turn that around. For the first time, a parliamentary inquiry will hear from the experts and try to work out some of those answers. But part of the solution may lie in getting more women into politics as well, as Bethanie Harriman reports from Port Moresby.
29-year-old man accused of stabbing to death his 5- and 3-year-old son.
Violence regularly makes the headlines, and most often in PNG, women and children are the victims. Most recently, 2 young boys aged just 3 and 5 were allegedly killed by their 29-year-old father, police say, after an argument with their mother.
Police reports have stated that at around 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon, after an argument between the accused and the victim's mother,
the tragic incident left many asking questions again. How can these type of incidents be prevented? How can services like counseling be provided? And will more people be prosecuted? There are signs of growing political will to find the answers, starting with a special parliamentary inquiry later this month.
For the first time in history, there will be a parliamentary inquiry conducted by this committee to investigate into the what is gender-based violence and what are the underlying causes and how we're going as far as funding the policy and what we can do about prosecution.
Charles Abel is the chair of a parliamentary committee on gender-based violence.
We all know that particular issue is also on the ascendancy. We've had several incidences even lately. In particular, the torture case of the 2 women that could possibly have been killed after being brutally tortured. And fortunately, they were rescued with the intervention of the good governor. But it's another example of the sort of things that we are doing to our womenfolk. Not to mention the recent incident involving the children, the murder of the 2 young children as well, and these seeming ongoing occurrences that are becoming too prevalent in our society.
There have, of course, been summits and meetings before, but Charles Abel promises their inquiry will be different.
We don't want to repeat the issues. We already have a pretty fundamental understanding of the importance and the challenge and the prevalence of gender-based violence in Papua New Guinea. We want to delve more into what are we doing to pursue particular strategies to elevate the awareness and do something about the issue. When you commit such a crime, what are the consequences, and why, despite so many obvious instances of gender-based violence being perpetrated, why are there seemingly very few prosecutions?
Those leading the 2-day inquiry in late May and listening into the expertise of people from both the government and non-government services, though will all be men, there are no women in PNG's parliament to be able to serve on a parliamentary committee. And for many people, that directly links to PNG's family violence crisis.
It's very important because, as we know, our members and our political leaders in parliament represent the whole country, but it's very important that women in this country have a voice, and the issues that are affecting women, girls, children, and not only that, they represent, they're in communities where we have different groups of people, and they have special needs as well.
Julie Bukikun is UNDP's assistant resident representative and helping to get women in parliament.
With the 5 seats, it will demonstrate again how women can contribute to the country. And as you know, women in Papua New Guinea lead in many other fields and sectors. And I think it's only in the highest decision-making institution of the country that we have an absence of women.
A plan to reserve 5 seats for women in time for next year's national elections was recently endorsed. Finkewe Zurinok is hoping to be one of them. She plans to contest the Morobe provincial seat, but she knows it's not yet guaranteed. Changes to legislations will have to pass Parliament.
We've had ladies contesting and we've always come out not so good. So reserving seats for women is good. The catch I see is that it needs to be passed. It needs 3 readings in Parliament, and for it to, with a majority of 56 votes, to be able to pass. And that the timeline right now for 2022 would be very tight. That's the way I see it. But we need to start somewhere. We are in Papua New Guinea, the women are very disadvantaged because of our cultural norms and things like that. But I can tell you, women are rising, so it'll be very good to see 50% of women in Parliament, which means that we get 50% of women in the NEC. So we've got good representation of women and men folk in decision making. And if we cut that corruption by 50%, I bet you.
But the UNDP's Julie Bukikun says it can be done.
Well, again, it comes back to the political commitment. So the coalition that UNDP is helping to support is really key, because in that coalition you have governors who are instrumental in provinces, you have ministers who are part of cabinet, and of course you have open members. So together, it's very important that we have that commitment in order to push forward.
It isn't the first time the PNG government has tried to create seats for women in Parliament. In 2011, it tried to pass a bill that would reserve 22 seats, 1 for each province. But it got voted down. Former Deputy Prime Minister and member for Alatau, Charles Abel, says he expects there will be resistance, but he remains optimistic.
Unfortunately, it's not a straightforward matter. There are certain, members of the community and certain leaders that don't seem to recognise the cultural and other barriers to women getting into Parliament. But historical evidence and outcomes, including the current Parliament with 111 members having no women representation, speaks to the issue very clearly.
That was the chair of PNG's Parliamentary Committee on Gender-Based Violence, Charles Abel, ending that report from Bethanie Harriman in Port Moresby.